Good morning, Maria. Happy
Morning,
Friday.
morning, morning. Mine is happier.
Yeah, why is that?
Yeah, because I'm not working on Friday, and you?
That's how you go. I mean, I usually do. I usually do. So, but I'm happy to explore with you what are the opportunities out there. So today's gonna be a very special episode. We are having a guest, Maria Stoeva from. She's a country lead of Assert International Bulgaria. She's also part of ManPower Group. And actually, Maria, why don't you give us a bit of an overview about what what are the organizations that you're part of doing, and how did you end up there?
Sure. I ended up in Manpower approximately 7 years ago. You know Manpower. We all know what is Manpower. Yeah. A very, very good recruitment company, recruitment staff leasing company, all these kind of things. But in the last couple of years, we've started also developing, and very, very recently, a month ago, we've opened Assert International in Bulgaria. And Assert International is a company that is doing people development and HR research, assessment of people. So the things that are different than the recruitment, but are very, very important before the recruitment or after the recruitment, but really to make the full cycle of the HR services was important for us. And we're going to talk about 4-day work week today because one thing is to be a storyteller and to talk to your clients about this and that, do your recruitment campaigns like this, do your people development programs like that, do this, do that. But it's another story to show them and to be a story doer and not only a storyteller. So this is what we're going to talk about today.
And let's start talking about it. By the way, whoever is watching us live, I would like to invite you to post your questions and comments. First of all, let us know, where are you watching us from? Which city are you at? Are you working at the moment? But also, if you have any questions to Maria regarding the 4-day work week, we would love to take some questions. And let's maybe start, Maria, from there. What was for you? Where did the idea come from? I know you guys have a very inspired, forward-thinking team, but how did the conversation start? Did somebody watch some update on a business journal? Like, how did you start talking about this idea
Yeah.
initially?
I remember, that's from my perspective. I remember it was approximately 2 years and something ago. I was having a very, very bad burnout, to be honest. I was really getting out, let's say, of this period, but it was indeed a very bad one. Uh, a lot of us have already tried that, so I'm sure that people get me. And I remember back then talking to our CEO, our owner of the company. He was in Bulgaria. We had a meeting, and he was like, "How are you?" And I was like, "I'm fine." He said, "No, I know you're not very fine. I mean, I've heard about that." And I said, "Yeah, I had a couple of issues, health issues, this and that." So I talked with him about that, and he said, "It will be very soon that I will tell you something that will basically change your lifestyle, change really the way you live." I was like, "What that is going to be?" Very strange, but you're not alone, this and that. And I was reassured that something very interesting is going to happen, let's say. And it was like possibly 1 month after that he announced that we'll try with the 4-day work week, because first of all we started with a pilot project, 5 months approximately, that we tried. We were not sure if it's going to work or not, so we
Was it
took
was
our
it for the
time
full was it for the full company, everybody, or it was for one team that you
for
decided?
all the countries that are in the Manpower C cluster, for all these countries, for everyone that is working in the company. There was a set of rules set in the very beginning. We tried, we changed the rules, by the way, to be honest. So it was like try and learn. But yeah, I remember when he announced that, and we were like, sitting in front of our computers, we had this email, and we were like, really? Seriously? We're going to do that? 32 hours? Really? We couldn't even believe. But yeah, then these 5 months we tried, we did our best to show that it's possible and that it would stay, for a longer period of time. And after the 5 months passed, he said, yeah, that's working. It's okay. So we continue this way. And now it's like more than a year and a half already that we are working this way.
Can you maybe share some of the? By the way, I just want to say hello to Navid, who's joining us from hot and humid Dubai, and
Oof.
he's happy to be here and inspired to learn from us. Thank you so much, David, for being with us. And if you have any questions, post it in the comments. But my question, Maria, is: could you share maybe some of this trial and error kind of maybe, I wouldn't say mistakes because every case is different. Maybe some of the mistakes you made would be something that works for another organization, but I'm just curious, what were some assumptions that you had that didn't turn to be the right thing to do?
Yeah, again, talking from my perspective, the biggest assumption that I was not right about was that 4-day work week is like, from next week, you're not working on Fridays. This is going to make you very productive. And this is it. No chance. It's a long process. It's definitely a long process of time and months and sometimes possibly years for some organizations or for some people, for some roles. It's a process that is like, now, okay, I'm having this Friday. I can use it, but I should be ready with everything that I need to do in this week. So I should really change something from how I work from Monday to Thursday if I want to use this Friday. If I'm not changing anything, this just means 20% less work and nothing than that. And it wouldn't be very, effective or very, productive. So the biggest mistake from my personal perspective was that next week or not working on Friday, really no chance. I mean, this is at least a couple of months taking a lot more steps and initiatives and change of the whole company culture, really change of the whole company culture in order for this to be possible at all. So this was the biggest one. The other ones were like minor and technical, like for example, we're having one person per each team who is on duty on Friday because companies are working, people are working, so there has to be someone. So from each and every single team, the team of people is usually 6, 7, 8 people, something like that, is on duty one Friday per 6, 7, 8 weeks. So that's something that we ended up as a conclusion that this is important. Someone has to be there. So this is just an example, but the things are really more technical. The big thing, the big thing is that the whole company culture, really agile company structure, is totally necessary in order for this to be possible and to be working as it is working in our case. Um, Very, very
So
good.
as I understand, and we're recording this podcast on a Friday, and you told me I'm not working today.
Yeah.
I'm doing a podcast, right? Um, so did you experiment with different days of the week? Like the rules right now is that you can take Friday off if you have done what you committed to do. Is that correct? And
Yes.
did you consider other days of the week initially? Why did you choose Friday?
We had such experiment, let's say, but it was very, very minor, only for a few people. But the logic is that Friday is you're having this long weekend, so it's totally different. If you're off on Wednesday, it's one thing. Possibly you can do something for your personal life, but it's one thing. But when you have the Friday, you're having a full really, really good weekend. You're having long weekend. Everyone knows what is a long weekend. You can really recharge. You can really, restart yourself in a way when you're having a long weekend. And when you are having this each and every week, it's kind of a different story. So it's one thing. And the second thing is that basically the whole company is not working on Friday. So there are only a few people that are on duty. So Your email is not the same. You don't have Teams messages. Your phone is not ringing so much. So it's like you really can be off for this day. If it's Wednesday, let's say, and all the company is working, and it's you and five other people that are not working, then basically you will just have a very shitty Thursday after
You're
that.
not so much at ease. You're not so much at ease because stuff is happening,
Yeah.
and when you know that nobody's working, almost nobody on Friday, you can actually slow down and not feel guilty that subconsciously at least that you're not at the workplace, you're not
Yeah,
supporting the others. So that's okay, great.
absolutely.
I was reading to kind of prepare for the podcast. I was reading a bunch of different studies, case studies, and experiments they did in different countries with different kind of results. I would say, like from what I hear, some worked well, some didn't work so well. Some countries implemented it. I think Belgium
Belgium,
made
yeah.
it. The government made it possible for. I don't know if that what's the rules. We can double check, but I think it's something like employees can choose if they want to work 4 or 5 days a week. So,
Yes,
so they
something
give the
like
power to the employees. And one of the, I don't know if it's a rule or it's a recommendation, but it's like you need to follow the 180-100 rule, which is you get paid 100 of your salary. You're working 80% of the time. You got to get done 100% of the stuff that you're supposed to do. Is that some kind of a mindset that you've also tried to inspire in the team? Is that what's expected from people? And how did you transition into creating such a culture?
it's a bit more different, because actually what we did expect, and our job is, you can imagine, recruitment, people development, employer branding strategies, whatever you can imagine, this type of job, that it's pretty much almost 100% dependent on people. Yeah, of course there is some technology that is supporting the process or something, but as a matter of fact, it is 100% made by the person, the consultant who is there to do the job, let's say. So how does he feel? And what is his state? Is he really, he or she, really into the things? Is he really committed? Is something that can be very, very easily seen. So at the end of the day, what we wanted, and what we made effectively was, you get 100% of your salary, you work 80% of your time, but we do expect more than 100% that what you did deliver back in the time when you used to work on a 5-day work week. And that happened. As mentioned, it was not automatical in any way. So that was a process, a long process, in order for this to happen. But at the end of the day, it happened that we are now having better results. I mean, in terms of productivity, in terms of what the people are doing, in terms of financial results, at the end of the day, we're having better ones. And this is something that showed us that actually, especially when the job is 100% dependent on the people, then it's really, really important how these people feel, if they're fine. We're not having burnout cases anymore. We're not having that. We're having people that are coming in the office on Monday, like really recharged, really ready, to do anything and everything. And you can see, if you come to our office, and you came actually one time, so I guess you've seen that, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you can see very, very high energy rates, let's say, between people. They're like, you won't see people standing on the PCs like that. They're like, talking on the phone, driving, going places, here, there, clients, they're meeting candidates. So that's an energy that you can feel, really feel. And on Thursday, you see that the energy is a little bit, lower. Some people are like, no, I want to work from home. It's kind of a different. Then you see again Monday, and you see full office of people. Everyone is energized. Everyone is ready to do more and more and more. And that's something that is really, really easily recognizable, let's say.
Thursday is the new Friday.
Yeah,
Like,
indeed. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna coin that.
yeah.
So
But
yeah, I
that's
said
like,
it first.
Friday usually we use for ourselves, and that was the main thing. And
Mm.
especially people with kids. I'm with two kids, for example. Saturday and Sunday, sometimes it's funny when someone tells you, oh, Saturday and Sunday, you're going to chill, you're going to relax. And I'm like, I'm having two small kids. Am I really, so Fridays are really more like time for us. And from what I see is that colleagues use these Fridays for sports, for learning. Many of them are having additional courses, additional qualification. And this is something that you can easily do on Friday. Many of them are having different sports or hobbies, those kind of activities that they're doing on Friday. And it's usually time for myself. I remember 1 year ago something, I was giving an interview for one of the televisions here for the 4-day work week. And then they're asking me, and then they're asking a lady from a professional organization, or I don't remember which one. And I'm looking the interview in the evening, and I'm like, yeah, Friday 4-day work week, it's working, this and that, these are the rules. And the lady was like, she was really, let's say, pessimistic about the 4-day work week. And she said, no, this is not going to work at all if it's not for the whole economy, because basically when you are off for the Friday, for example, but your husband is not, or your kids are at school, then basically why would you, you can't use this day. And I remember back then I was with a few of my colleagues, and we were watching this television, and we started laughing so hard, because we were like, this is the best part of it. It's time for me. The kids are at school, my husband is at work. So it's time for me. I can take care of myself. And this is important. And we usually, and it's so common, and especially for young people with kids, to forget about ourselves.
Especially for women. Especially for women.
Especially for women.
That are prioritizing everything else but themselves.
In themselves, it's something like 10th on the list, but Friday, it's for me. I can go swimming, then I can go see a friend, I can go take lunch with someone, I can clean up my house or something like that. And then, I can take my kids earlier from school, let's say 3 or 4. I usually do that, which is something, and I'm having more quality time with them. Or sometimes I want to give myself a little time on Friday for different creative tasks. For example, when I'm writing a new article or something like that, I need to have time, with myself. My phone is not ringing, no one is around me. Chill, having my coffee, and I'm doing something. It really, really happens times more productively than from Monday to Thursday, So that's really the me time.
That's a great that you're sharing that. I'm sure many of your colleagues are feeling the same way. And one thing that's quite interesting, we're at the Productivity Mastery podcast, right? It's this good old truth that if you set yourself specific time to get something done, you're probably going to get it done within the frame that you set yourself to. So when you squeeze the 5 days into 4, now you really got to get focused, right? You have no choice. You chose as a team, as a community, to be part of this. And there's a lot of benefits, but it also comes with, hey, I need to get things done. Yeah. So I'm curious, what would you see as, what were some of the things that made your team able to deliver on that promise? Was that happening naturally? Because when you put people into frames and structure, sometimes it does. But did you have to do any training, any kind of meetings, any rules of cutting down meetings time? I don't know. What did you do so you can get to a place where results are not just the same, but actually better than before?
Yeah. When talking about this, there is 2 scenarios on how a company can change something like that. The first scenario, and the usual scenario, unfortunately, is the leader of the organization is going and saying, now, from now on, we're not going to have more than 3 meetings per day, for example, because we need time for, I'm just giving you an example. So something that is coming from the top management. And then the people are like, oh, not really, I don't want it this way. I have my way. We've done it this way for years. You're not going to tell me, so that's classical scenario. And the second scenario is when you give the autonomy in the people. So they're responsible for the results, but they're having the freedom to choose on how to get to these results. And people are behaving absolutely differently when you really give them this autonomy, this freedom, absolutely differently. So it's more like not the CEO or my leader or someone told me something, but it's like, I want it. It's my thing, so I'm going to think for myself. Am I doing this meeting? Is it, worth it? Am I going to this place? Am I, am I typing the email each and every time like that? Or I shall make for myself a template that I can use. So you are starting for yourself to think a lot about how to automate your things, how to make your things faster, how to find a shortcut to something, how to be more effective. And you're trying in the very small daily tasks, and you're trying with each and every task. And as a result, what happened is that really the people are absolutely different. I mean, at the end of the day, it happens that a 22-year-old lady, for example, an intern in our company, would come and say, I have an idea about how to make this and that process better than now. And we're like, okay, how? Well, we're taking this, tool or this and that, we're combining this and that's going to save us, 70% of our time in the week. And we're like, okay, then let's do it. But it comes from her, from the intern. It doesn't come from the management in any way. And when it comes from the people, it's first thing, it's a lot more ideas, definitely. Second thing is they really believe in these things and they propose these things and they try and they use these things because they believe in them, not because someone told them to. And the third thing is that they're behaving differently. The people are behaving differently. So when they do have this freedom, they're really, really responsible. And at the end of the day, when everyone from the intern to the CEO is thinking about how to make my work more productive in each and every task that he's doing, surprise, it happens. So this is
that's such a great learning, not just for people who organization that consider implementing the 4-day work week, but in general, as you said, the more you give authority to people, instead of saying, here's what needs to, we plan and this is the goal and this is how you should do it, and then you kind of push it on people. Okay, they might deliver, but it's completely different to say, hey, do we all agree we want to get there? Yes, good. What do you think we should do? And then it's their authority to decide. They have to commit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they want to commit. It's one thing to feel that you have to do something, but it's another thing that it's really intrinsic motivation that is coming from you, and you're like, I want to commit, I want to do that. And intrapreneurial mindset, is something, because many of these people, when they're having the responsibility and they're in the same time having the freedom to choose, they're really behaving as if this company is theirs. They're behaving this way. So they're not like, I have a list of 10 tasks, my manager told me to do so I'll do 8 of them, the classical scenario, and I'll say for the rest of 2, I didn't have time. It's more like, you are going to choose the paths. You do have the history, you do have the whole company, you have the whole structure, you have the tools, you have the technology, you have everything necessary. But how you will get from point A to point B, it's up to you. Go for it. Try and learn. And another thing important in this case is to be really ready for the people to make mistakes. And this is a very beautiful part of the story when they do make mistakes, because they end up totally different after one mistake. So we're usually even celebrating mistakes, but they're always trying something better, something new. And many, many great things came out of this, that they're not afraid to make mistakes. And this is part of the story.
It's going way beyond the 4-day work week, right?
Yeah, 4-day work week.
The culture. It's the mindset.
Yeah, it's the culture, definitely. If we talk about solely the 4-day work week, nothing in terms of productivity or well-being is going to change that much. I mean, sometimes, and there are some companies, you said you've seen some case studies, research this and that. There are some companies that actually said that it's worse, that it's getting worse, that people are feeling even more stressed in the 4 days that they're working, that the results from the work, the productivity is actually down. So if this doesn't come with a serious process of really shifting, I wouldn't say changing, but it's more like shifting and evolving the company culture, then it's something that doesn't happen. And this is applicable for the 4-day work week, but this is also applicable for many, many other cases. I mean, companies who are ready to invest their time and their, thinking, their money sometimes into shifting and evolving this company culture, this is something that's definitely shifts the productivity as well. And then things like 4-day work week are possible, or things like remote office, or sometimes these are companies that are like on Friday they're working until noon, for example, or Friday is only for learning or something like that. So there are different scenarios, but giving this
Hopefully the
flexibility.
people who are listening, leaders, managers who are listening, they're not like, oh, let's try this for the work week thing. Now we have to work on culture. Well,
Yeah.
what did you do the last 10 years? you know, maybe, culture is something you gotta invest all the time,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes.
I'm curious here, just from how did you get people to buy into the idea? I mean, it sounds attractive, but I'm just curious. Was there, like, did you guys do a survey? Did you talk to the employees to see what do you guys feel we're thinking about this 4-day thing? Would you be up for trying it? Like, how did you get them to genuinely buy into the idea of going in this direction?
It was not difficult, as you can imagine, to buy the idea to work 4 days. Yeah. Uh, but of course, there were some people that were like, this is not going to work for us, no chance. So there were some, let's say, skeptic people about the idea. And yeah, we did a number of surveys in this direction, but the first one was at the end of this trial period that I mentioned, like the 5 months trial period in the very beginning. And time passed and I don't remember all the figures, but I remember that 91% of the people said that their work-life balance and their lifestyle as a whole is times better than before. 91% of the people is something. I mean, that was, as far as I remember, in the whole cluster, in the whole region. Many people said, for example, that if they have been thinking about leaving the company and changing to a different one, now they are not thinking about that. And I wouldn't say that it's because of the Friday. I would say that it's because of the changing company culture. So everyone is feeling differently. It's not only that you're having this Friday. This Friday is the result of everything else. More like the result, really. But I remember back then that the results were really so obvious that we were like, really seriously, we're definitely going into this direction. So we made it, let's say, permanently after this trial period. But there were some skeptics, of course, yeah. And still, after all this time, there are people that find it difficult, and this is normal. People are different. Their way of working is different. There are people that can do something in 10 minutes and other people that can do the same things in 2 hours, or different way of working, different way of understanding the things. There are some people that don't want to rush, that like this, I will better work 6 days, but I will not going to push myself that much. And this is also valid. I mean, this is different. How I work is one thing. For example, I can be very productive in the morning and you can be very productive in the evening, or whatever. Sometimes I'm very productive Saturday evening. I mean,
What is your take on that? That's very interesting. What is your take on that? So there are some people that, as you said, they'll prefer to work 6 days, but in a slow pace. They'll get it done.
Yeah.
Um, would you would you recommend to the audience, when you build a culture and you create a culture, you try and attract people who fit this kind of culture? For example, the 4 day, very productive, very excited. Would you recommend that, or would you also say, well, sometimes actually there's people that are very valuable, but their pace is different? How would you? What is your take on that?
Mm. Well, the very important thing is really to go individually, team by team and person by person. And I know that in some big companies it even sounds funny, but it's not that funny. I mean, there are ways of asking people, there are ways of surveying people, of interviewing people, of listening to people, because many times companies are surveying people, but then they don't do anything with the results, So listening to your people is the important thing, because sometimes what people want is this, sometimes what people want is that. But at the end of the day, what is important really is to make the culture according to the people that you're working with. I do believe that in this time of talent scarcity, there is no company that can say, these people don't fit in. Okay, this team, go out. I'll find new, because no one can find new. At least, it's not that easy at the end of the day. So when we do have the people that are having their pace, their thing, we can work with them. Actually, we can work with them, and we can develop them into certain direction that we want the whole company to go. But it's not that difficult if we're really listening to them, and if we want to work with them, then we can make it. This is part of the story. To be honest, we did have a number of different academies, internal academies for the whole cluster, that were very, very important part of the process. So we had the leadership academy, we had the team leads academy, we had the sales team academy, we had the young talents academy, different academies that were talking to each other, let's say, but were very, very important part of the process, that we will all start speaking the same language, understanding the same values, having the same concepts about how to do something, understanding what does it mean to be free and responsible, as a first point, really, and many, many other things after that. What does it really mean to be an agile organization? How we can get there, So it was a lot of working, not on the techniques side, but a lot of working on how people understand and perceive something. And then it's not that difficult when you're having people with different types of work habits, different interests, different wills and wishes. It's okay. They can still work in the same team. And this is the beauty of, different people into one team. They're so different. They're having different ways of how to make the things. But at the end of the day, it happens.
Yeah, but you agree upon the core principles and rules of the game. You have a similar mindset about the world, about values, shared common values.
Yeah.
Now I might be working in the morning, and I do, right? Like
Mhm.
super, super, morning early birds. You
Yeah.
might be somebody that likes to take 2 hours, like the Spanish people do, right? Like in
Yes.
the afternoon to just chill
Yes.
and then work again in the siesta, right? So, but that's the core. And as you said, I love it. I love it. It's the management, it's the leadership job to be like a gardener and
Mhm.
to look into the culture and see what's going on, to see individually personalized, like all the people that I'm leading, I'm working for them, right? That it's
Indeed.
the opposite. Like I'm working for them, they're not working for me. I'm working for them, and I need to ensure that they have anything they need, the resources. I help them clarify priorities, what are their roles when they have challenges and obstacles. I'm there, right? um, and it's not like you do it once in a quarter, like, and then
No, but you do it every day. I mean, this servant leadership, uh, let's say, way of thinking. It's not only working; even it's a way of interacting with these people. Is such a super huge step. If anyone wants to go for a 4-day work week, or better flexibility, let's say in time, or a really better productivity. It's so, so, so important. And the leader is there really, as you said it greatly, as a gardener, basically. He's not like, I can't work with these people, I'll need to choose different people or something like that. He's more like, how to make this place better for these people, how to help them, how to support them, how to show them, how to learn from them as well, and they feel that. And it's so, so, so important part of the process, and it's so beautiful, and it's so, now again, talking from my own perspective, and when I said that for the burnout, 3 years ago, I was really a micromanager. I was really, I mean, you can't imagine. And I remember those situations. And as you can imagine, a big part of this team is not working with me anymore. I mean, they don't want to. And it's something that I confess with, all my heart, that I know that it's true. And after that, when I started realizing this whole concept of servant leadership, of I am there as a plot, as something that they can go to if they need, but at the end of the day, they need to thrive by themselves. And I need to give them space, and I need to trust them. And yeah, sometimes they will do some mistakes. And sometimes I will be like, no, there was a better way, to do something. But yeah. And now I do have amazing team. I mean, I can't imagine what kind of team I do have. Sometimes I'm like surprised. I'm like, really, if I'm having the chance to work with these people. They're really amazing people. And they, they always surprise me with something better and better and better. They always go the extra mile. Clients see that. Colleagues see that, everyone sees that they're different, because I'm different at the end of the day, and they're different. I mean, everyone have changed during this whole process. Everyone have changed. Everyone has understand his role towards the others and towards himself in a very, very different way.
I had the chance to meet some of your colleagues and to visit you in the office, and I have to confirm. Um, I just want to give you credit for the fact you haven't met me before, guys, and you made me feel at home. Three senior people came, being super curious, talking about all these inspiring topics. I don't even know what we talk about, like, but it was
There
it
was
was
many,
just
many things.
just inspirational things, and everybody, like, I can feel the vibe, right? I work with many different companies, and I can I can easily make a comparison how the mood is, how the energy is, and I would say I can just confirm what you said, and same to me. Talking about team, I'm so grateful. I have a small team. The people I work with, I mean, they're so nice and so committed and so motivated, so driven. I'm the most grateful person, and as you said, the biggest thrill I get is when somehow I help them to grow, or
Yeah,
to achieve something they want to achieve, and I see in their eyes that they're happy because they achieve these things. And
sparkling,
I mean,
sparkling. Yeah,
this is the. I mean, of course, it's also really, really happy when you see a client being very happy and they make this transformation. We're in the transformation industry, um, but team is number one. And and when you talk about servant leadership, I want to get a little bit deeper into that. We had the pleasure to have on the podcast a couple of times the actually the founding president of Starbucks International. He was the guy who scaled the company to all those different countries. Number two in Starbucks after Howard Schultz. Howard Bihar, he is a committed, lifelong servant leader. He's promoting certain servant leadership. And by the way, everybody needs to get a copy of the book. It's not about the coffee. It's called the book by Howard Bihar. Go get a copy. It's amazing. But I'm curious if you can share maybe some resources, like maybe you read a book on servant leadership, and maybe just share with the audience what is servant leadership to you, and how could any leader use it to not only do the right thing, but improve the productivity in their company?
First of all, we did have a great supporter. Our regional people and culture director, Mario Grilc, he's a Croatian guy. He's really great supporter in this process. So all these academies that I mentioned and all these things that we went through together with him in these academies were the thing that was the most important thing. So first thing is, yeah, because books and resources, they're really important to get you to the concept, to make you understand, the logic, the techniques, this and that. But what a really, really good trainer or a coach can do is, nothing can compare to that, I believe. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so hard working with companies on their company culture, on how they behave with really good trainers and coaches. I do believe that when someone like this enters an organization, he can really do amazing things. I mean, really, really do amazing things. After that, yeah, there are a lot of books, a lot of resources, a lot of things that we need, a lot of tech things that we used as well in order to change the way how we're working. A lot of sometimes it's about the expectations, sometimes it's about the KPIs that you set to yourself, as well. Sometimes it's about a lot of steps like that. But in order to become a servant leader, you need to know why. You need to understand that, and you need to feel it. You need to feel it inside of you. And I do believe that this can happen if you're not. I mean, because some people are natural to a certain extent in this direction, uh, but I believe that this can happen mainly with coaching, mainly with someone who can guide you through this process with the right questions, with the right attitude. But it's your decision, so you're going to do it for yourself as a
Do you
leader.
believe? Do you believe? By the way, Selena is asking what was the name of the book. Selena, the name of the book is "It's Not About the Coffee." I'm gonna post the link afterwards in the comments by Howard Bihar. Go check it out. But Maria, I'm curious now. You talk about coaching and training
Hmm.
is the best way to start implementing servant leadership. Do you believe in organizational terms, um, it needs to be um, a common commitment, meaning it's not just about for the executives, it's also for employees to understand this mindset and buy into it. Like, could you talk about that?
Totally. If it's even one person who doesn't understand it, then it's like he doesn't fit. It's like he's new. It's like he's, outside of this circle, let's say. So, what I mentioned, for example, for our internal trainings and academies, that was that for everyone there was an academy, and the academies were interconnected to each other. Although very different, they were interconnected. And that was super important. I mean, really, for everyone to understand it. For me, the last couple of months, for example, how some of the things are changing within our company is not through the senior leadership team, but through the first time leaders, basically the team leaders, the lower managerial level is going through them. And they are the people who are educating their people in their team, but they are the people who are educating their leaders as well. You can't imagine what kind of thriving this is, and how they understand what is servant leadership, and how they go for it, and how they are having more space than usual, to show what they can do, to decide more than what they originally decided. So you can't imagine what kind of commitment they're having, different commitment, and they're really spreading this throughout the whole organization. So if it's isolated in the senior leadership team, and sometimes this is in many companies, I've seen that many times. They're working with the senior leadership team, which is perfect. This is great, really, but it's definitely not enough. I mean, it should go back and forth, from the first person to the last person, because if not that, then people are just not on the same page. They're not thinking, in the same direction. it's obvious that they're not thinking the same way, but they're not thinking in the same direction. And people would be like, why is she not supporting me? Well, you in this time as a leader are like, I will give her, place. Let's go. Let's try. Let's learn. So people want to understand
Mm.
each other, and it's normal.
And the other way around, right? Uh,
Yeah.
I'm a corporate trainer. I'm a speaker. I so many times get brought on board in a company, hired by the management, and then I get into lead a training, a team offsite, and then I'm like, where are the managers? And
Mm.
then I talk to the managers. Oh, it's for my people.
Mm-hmm.
It's for my people. It's great what you do, but I know these things. It's for my people. It's like, really? So you're not gonna join the workshop?
Mm.
What kind of message are you sending? And then when you have a one-on-one and more like deep discussions with the team, you realize many of the challenges come from from the management not understanding them, not being clear, and so on. And I wish at that moment that they were part of this process. So it's both, right? It's the
It's
it's
very,
the
very many.
everybody needs to be done.
Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. Many situations like that. Oh, no, I know this. Don't talk to me. Yeah, talk to my people. Or the opposite, working only on the senior managerial team. That's also the case. Uh, this is just not
And
working.
to me, this is kind of like a summary. You guys have a success case, and let's be clear. Let's be honest. The 4-day work week is not gonna work for everybody. There are certain things. I mean, we talk about a lot of the ingredients that help you guys to make it work. You experimented. You had this kind of a mindset towards it. You get people, invited them to join it, and they got into it, and they started to create it together with you. You've been investing in the culture in your people for many many years, which was a prerequisite for this thing to be more smooth, right? So for now it's working really well for you, which is amazing, fantastic. But let's maybe look into the other side, because I'm sure some people will get excited and say, well, maybe we should try this thing out. But let's see what could be the disadvantages. And we have a question by Nicoletta, good morning, thanks for being with us. Actually, it's a question from 25 minutes ago, but I wanted to go to this part at the end of the conversation. So Nicoletta is saying, hi, Maria. I'm really curious. What do you see as the biggest disadvantage to the 4-day work week on the employer side?
Hmm. Going back to your question and then Nicoletta's, because they're almost the same, but not totally. Breaking news. One size doesn't fit all, right? And it's valid for everything, I do believe. One size doesn't fit all. It's same for the companies. It's definitely not like we advise that everyone should try this. Every company should go to 4-day work week like that. Yes, at some point, I believe that at some point it will happen, like it was 100 years ago, with Henry Ford and the 5-day work week, the 40 hours work week. It was the same. People, I was not alive back then, the way I'm talking, yeah. But from what I
Your
know,
friend Henry.
yeah, from what I know, it was the same. A lot of skeptics like, no chance. Why, how? No, how? From Monday to Friday, no chance. But it happened at the end of the day, and now we are taking it as granted, as something that is logical, normal, all over the world, this and that. So I do believe that this step by step will happen with the 4-day work week as well. These are the first tries that some countries are making, that some companies are making. They're not that little amount, by the way. I mean, they're uh, quite a lot more and more and more each month. So these are just the first step, but it will happen. Apart from that, it's really not the case for every company to go for it right now like that. It's really, really depends on the situation, on the company, on how the people do feel, what is important for these people. There are many things on how to make your people more productive. 160 episode of productivity mastery. I'm sure that so many ideas were in these 160 episodes. There are many people how to make your many ways how to make them more productive, how to make them happier, how to make them with a better well-being as a whole. So many ways. It's not only the 4-day work week. So it's really thinking about how to make your people not survive at work, but thrive at work. It will change the game. It will change the concept. Apart from that, going to Nicoleta's question about the disadvantage on the employer side, uh, I will say that if we ask 10 people, 10 people will give different answers, because it's more of like your personal perspective in this very moment. Uh, I'm going to lie if I say that there were no times for me that I was like, now because it's Friday, they're all off and I can't do this and I want to do this right now. So I had these situations. Of course I did. I mean, our job is pretty much project based. So we're working on different project for clients, for companies. And in this respect, there are some some situations that you're having so much work to do because you're having several projects to finish, for example, that you're really overwhelmed, and that you're like, now they're going to be off now, really, uh, but to be honest, this was like 1 or 2 times for 1 or 2 people. It's more that they know and they are responsible. So when they do have a lot of things to do, they're usually there, and it doesn't matter if it's Friday, if it's night, if it's holiday, if it's whatever, because they are responsible. I would say that. I mean, it's not easy, but it's a process. And if the company is ready to go into this process, then it doesn't have really disadvantages, I would say.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important for everybody to know that there's both sides of the coin, right? It's
Indeed.
everything has some sort of a consequence and a price, and you got to be prepared if you decide to get into that. I wonder, just as a general suggestion, recommendation, what do you think from, I mean, I'm sure you research a lot. I'm sure you, let me put the comment down. I'm sure you research a lot. You've seen cases and stuff. What do you think of some sort of like the type of companies that you'd recommend to consider this? Like, would that be,
Mhm.
maybe industries, or like the size of the company? There's many scale ups and established startups founders that are listening to the podcast. What would be a recommendation? I know it's very personal, but if you can give an overview from your observations,
Yeah.
who should consider testing the 4-day work week?
Definitely. The biggest advantage of the 4-day work week, if we can mention one, I do believe the biggest advantage is really this different well-being. I even don't call it work-life balance anymore, because it's stupid. Uh, it's balancing. It's a verb first thing. It's integration between the work and life. But really, this well-being and the way that people feel mentally, emotionally, physically is directly influencing the way they work. And this is the biggest advantage of the 4-day work week. People can take care for their mental, physical, psychological well-being. This is the biggest one. So if the person, is the most important thing within your organization, if this is, it can be a consultancy company, it can be an IT company, it can be a sales company, commercial, retail, whatever, but you depend on the person, you really rely on the person, you're like, he's going to do the job and he's the most important asset, and he needs to be in a really good state, in a really good mood, in a really good situation. This is the best thing that you can do, basically, because he's different. I mean, salespeople. Let's give example of salespeople. Salespeople usually can do a lot or can do nothing, and at the end of the day, they can say, "I did my best. It's up to the industry." Or something like that, or the situation, or the country, or whatever. Salespeople are like a very good example of how, if you want to achieve something, then you're definitely going to do that. I mean, many cases, if you don't want, you're not going to do that. And they are heavily dependent on what is their current emotional, physical, and mental state. Very dependent. I mean, even for one cold call, if you're not feeling well, if you're not feeling good, if you're pissed off, if you're angry, don't make that phone call. It wouldn't end up very well in many situations. So for those kind of companies that really rely and depend on their people, that's absolutely valid way on going into the future. Because sometimes at some point, I'm sure that this is going to be mass, and it's going to be like the 5-day work week. But it's up to all of us as a community, let's say, to decide how long would it take, if it's going to be in 5 months, in 5 years, or in 50 years. But at some point, it will happen. People understood that there is no more, I'm one person at work from 9 to 5, and I'm another person at home. No chance. All the people understood that, and they know that it's not. I'm behaving one way here, and I'm behaving another way here. It's not. I'm going here only to take my money and to survive at work. Really, it's more like I want to be the person through my work. I want to be an individual through my work. I want to express myself through my work. I want to develop myself through my work. I want a lot more from my work than it used to be. So it's basically they will understand that I can be very productive when I'm concentrated, and I will have more time for my hobbies, for my family, for this and that.
Can you shortly share with us, because we talk about the team, we talk about the organization, but what did you personally have to change in the way you were doing things so that you can be productive in these 4 days, get all done, and have a chance to have coffee and be on a
Yeah.
podcast on Friday morning?
Many things, but I'll give you one very good example of what I started from the very beginning. It was a technological tool that showed me. Basically, I had a tool on my PC for 3 days, and it basically seen everything that I'm doing. After these 3 days, the business analyst came in front of me and told me, uh, do you want to save 22 days per year? And I was like, yes, this is basically half of the Fridays, perfect. Of course I want. And he said, okay, are you usually multitasking? And I was like, yes, of course. I'm a lady, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm multitasking very well. He was like, how do you usually, so continued with these questions. And what he basically seen with this small machine on my computer, let's say, was exactly this. I'm opening, for example, to write an article, but an email pops up. I'm opening this email, then I get back to the article, but it takes me a few seconds to come back to what I'm doing. And I'm opening a presentation, for example, to do something like that, this and that, this and that. So this was the first thing that I stopped. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm doing only this. And until I finalize it, I will, my colleagues are like that. I'm picking up the phone very rarely. I'm usually denying the call, denying the call, and after 15 minutes, now I'm ready for the calls, and I would return all the calls. But they are like, if there would be time that you will just pick up the phone and say hello, I'm in most of the cases I'm denying, and I'm giving back the phone call in 10, 15 minutes, half an hour. No one's going to die, right?
I love it. You build the right habits and you become more disciplined and focused. And by the way, as Maria said previously, it's episode 160. If you want to learn some great tools and ideas and strategies on how to become more productive and to step up your time management, make sure to subscribe to Productivity Mastery on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. There's a few episodes that come to mind that you might want to look for. I'll post them in the comments. There's an episode with the author of The One Thing, Jay Papasan. Great book, by the way. I'll post it in the comments. There's an episode with David Allen, the author of Getting Things Done, the Bible of Productivity. Another great episode was with the CEO of 1% for the Planet, this organization that's the nonprofit that Patagonia started, the founder of Patagonia started. So yeah, a lot of good stuff down there. And just to wrap up the whole episode, by the way, let us know if you enjoyed this episode in the comments. What was your key takeaway? We would love to hear from you. Have any more questions? I think it would be great to wrap up with a final question by a former podcast guest. By the way, I'm so happy to see that more and more of the former podcast guests are listening to the podcast. Navid was here. You should check out his episode on how to build relationship for the long run, networking. He's great at that. Henry Mank, very exceptional individual. He's just asking a question. I'm going to read it in a second. He did an episode sharing his learnings from doing, I think it was 1,100 days of meditation in a row, more than 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes for more than 1,100 days, and he was sharing his learnings from meditation. He's a UX designer, by the way. He's a business guy. He's running different businesses, but here's what he's sharing with us, and I think it's going to be a good summary. Maybe, Maria, you already answered some of it, but maybe we can kind of summarize the whole episode with that. So Henry is saying, good morning, Maria. We have practiced for a few years the 4-day summer working time, and this works really well, and the whole team is happy and productive. Did you have some step-by-step way to go to full 4-day week, or did you start it right away from there? What do you think of pros and cons to do it from day one or not?
Mm-hmm. We actually started in October, which was not in the summer, but that would be great to start in the summer for many companies that are having a little bit less space, in the summer. It's a very good idea to start with a summer trial, definitely, because in the rest of the time it's definitely a little bit more difficult. We did have a step by step process, let's say, and we wanted to go like automatically, from this day we are going automatically to this 4-day work week. But as I mentioned, it was not the reality. It was not the case. The first Fridays, I remember, it was October, so that's very active period of the year for us, to be honest. And I remember we were like, okay, now we can take our breaks on Friday. It's okay. And we were all standing on our PCs, I believe. And everyone was like, changing his status on Teams that the rest wouldn't see him, that he's there, and we were like doing this and that and scheduling emails for Monday, and we were like, yeah, I had a very good vacation to the colleagues, I had a very good long weekend, but it was actually 2 hours, something like that. Then it started step by step. This is also something important for many employers to know. Usually people are not working 40 hours. Usually people are working 32 hours in many cases, even if it's not official, but it happens. Imagine that, for example, you have to go to a dentist, you have to go to a hairdresser, you have to go anything like this. You usually what you're doing is you're doing this in your time schedule, all over the week. When you're having this Friday, you start, the dentist will be on Friday, the hairdresser will be on Friday. You start with these things, then you're like, okay, this is something that I can do as well on Friday. So you basically start rescheduling your week. In a way, you start dividing, this is for my job, this is for myself, this is for this is for that. And in a couple of months, it starts basically happening. But it's absolutely not automatic. Absolutely not automatic. It is a process. And this process, for some people, it took less time. For other people, it took a lot of time, to be honest. And also, it's like, it's a life process. I mean, there are Fridays that I do have a lot of things to do, and I had, for example, April and May and June was really hectic for me. I was having many events, trainings, meetings, and I was like, I really didn't have enough time. And I do prefer to do something on Friday instead of doing something late in the evening, in the night, for example. But doing something on Friday is as well different, because you're alone. No one is calling you, no one is doing that. You're really, really
You're off.
focused. So basically, for 2 hours, you can do what you do for one day during the rest of the week. So it's yeah. So it's a life process. Sometimes you do have a lot of things to do. Other times you're fine to go even Thursday lunchtime. You're ready. You're fine, possibly. I don't know. That never happened to me, but that's my personal issue. Yeah. So for
Mm.
some people it takes more time, for other less, but it is a process and it should be considered as such.
Well, thank you so much, Maria, for being with us. Thank you for this super insightful and inspiring episode. Hopefully, many people will at least consider the opportunity to see whether the 4-day work week is for their organization, or at least I think many of the learnings that you shared actually applicable for any kind of team or organization, especially when it comes to culture, when it comes to you know implementing all these practices. And I just want to give you the space here, first of all, to give you to admire you and give you credit for the energy, the mindset that you approach leading your team, not just you, but the whole team, and how you guys are, uh, you know, practicing servant leadership and caring for your people. But I just want, if you can share with us and with the audience, just very shortly, how could people get in touch with you? What are the kind of services that you guys provide, both in Manpower and in Assert International? And yeah, what should people get in touch with you with?
Yeah. We do actually this. I mean, we go into the companies and we are changing the companies. This is what we're doing. We're having many situations that, for example, a company would call us and they know Manpower for recruitment, right? Yeah, 8 years of history in recruitment. And they would call and they would say, I need 50 new people. Uh, but there are no people on the market, something like that. So we're like, okay, are you opening new vacancies? You're growing? No, I just need 50 new people. Then in this situation, first thing is that it's difficult to find 50 people in some places in Bulgaria, let's say. Yeah. But it's more like, what is the reason? Why do you need 50 people? Where are the people that you've lost? So let's really see what is the issue. Let's really delve into the real issue. Why do you have such a turnover rate, for example? There are some things that you can do about it, surely. So let's see that. And this is our specialty, let's say, to go inside and to understand what is the real problem, what is the real issue. And it's usually not one, it's usually more than one, but to scan the organization in a very, very good way. And we can do that because we're having the bird eye view over the whole market. And in the same time, we're having the specialized people who can go into very, very, very much into the details of the organization. And then they can say, now you actually need 10 people. Because what you need to do is to change this and that and the way that this and that are working. Then what you need is to change this. Then what you need is to work with these people. Then what you need is to develop these leaders, for example, or whatever. And this is the way that we are working. We're really trying to understand the real issue and the real cause of the problems within the how people in this organization are. So we are the people for people, let's say. And yeah, I'm very, as I'm excited for the topic that we covered, I'm as much excited for every client and every project that we are having, because it's a new chance to go and have a real impact, a sustainable impact over a company that is changing usually the way these people live. Sometimes it's changing the way the people live. And it's giving me so much meaning. And it's giving my team so much meaning as well. And I know that all of us are seeing this meaning, that we're with very, very small steps, we're making the community that we're living in a better place to be at the end of the day. So we're happy. We're really, really happy about that. We're covering Bulgaria, working in Bulgaria. From recently, we're having a couple of new countries that we're opening from here as well. So the whole C cluster is one big family, one big team with amazing people, really amazing people, amazing professionals, and it's whatever the companies need in the C region, we're here to support.
I can see your genuine passion and excitement about this
Yeah.
topic. And so, if you guys want to get in touch, people should get in touch on LinkedIn or email. Where is it easy to get in touch with you personally, Maria?
Sure, LinkedIn and email, both are okay. I'll post my
Yes.
email here. Yeah, LinkedIn is.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, everybody who was here with us today, listening live or listening to the recording of the podcast. Let us know what you thought about it. Episode 160, once again, there's 159 more episodes with super interesting guests like Maria, and you can always get inspired. But at the end of the day, it's not about ideas and inspiration and knowledge, it's about implementation. So hopefully you got one idea from today that you can take and you can experiment with, implement, and one by one, eventually, we're going to be getting better and better and better. So that's the point, right? So thanks once again for everybody. We'll see you once again at the next episode of Productivity Mastery.
Thank you, Stoyan.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.